Kirk Cousins has been benched for
Hmm.
Michael Penix Jr. It happened. It's official. We all kind of assumed that whenever he was drafted, number 8 overall in this recent draft, that eventually if Kirk plays bad, this had to kind of be a foregone conclusion that he was going to get thrown in here. So it's a little hysterical to me, but let's get your thoughts, your overall thoughts before we get into all the meat and potatoes, all this. Just first initial reaction to hearing that Kirk has been benched. Go.
I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's kind of surprising considering they're a few games out of the playoffs. I think throwing in a rookie quarterback, no matter how old he is, I know he's like 35 or however old he is right now. Joking. I know he's only like late 20 something, but it's kind of weird, to have that trust in your young quarterback to, steer the ship right before the playoffs start, because they're 7-7 right now. They're not eliminated from the playoffs. They still have a good chance of making the playoffs. So you go into the playoffs, and instead of Kirk Cousins hasn't been having the best stretch of games, but you're putting the ball in the hands of someone that has no NFL experience compared to someone like Kirk, who at least has experience. He's played in the playoffs before. He knows what it takes, whatever. So a little bit confusing, but at the same time, like, I get it. It's the start of a new era. Things aren't working well. You might as well just cut things short before it gets even worse.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's very interesting that a guy's going to make his first NFL start in week 16 of the NFL season.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's a little alarming, and I think that also kind of screams a little bit of dysfunction in my mind, just from the standpoint of like ownership wanted Kirk Cousins. They bring Kirk Cousins in.
Oh, they wanted him.
Yeah,
they got him. The money they gave him.
I definitely 180 M's. Like, it's kind of crazy, but I think GM and coaching and first year head coach Raheem Morris wanted to draft Michael Penix, draft a quarterback, which kind of comes off as like, well, we're not really in agreement, but hey, he's a rookie. You've seen stories like Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, Patrick Mahomes sits for a year or whatever it is. They end up starting Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks, some of them MVPs, obviously, where maybe this can be a nice project player.
Right.
But nah, they ripped the Band-Aid off. So I kind of feel like there's a disconnect that I don't think we're really going to see. I haven't read anything like that, obviously. This is just me speculating. But
sure.
This is it's a little alarming. But Kirk, it makes sense why he got benched, right? In the last 5 games, I got the stats pulled up. 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions and a 1-4 record. And the win just came in week 15 against the Raiders, where it's 15-9.
And not only did that hurt the Falcons, I started him 2 of those weeks in fantasy because I had no other option. So not only did he hurt the Falcons, he hurt me as well. So this is another reason why I'm rooting for Ray Penix right now.
This is personal, but now
it is.
It's just it's a bad deal. Like, I think he was definitely on the verge of having a career year last year with Minnesota.
Yeah,
where he could have possibly been an MVP candidate.
Sure.
Tears the Achilles, and we're thinking that, well, Kirk is still going to be an elite quarterback. There's an argument for him to be top 5 last year.
Yeah.
But I guess now, like, the question is, like, what do you think is next for Kirk Cousins here?
Well, the question is, are they going to cut him? Are they going to release him? He has a no trade clause. If they cut him, they owe him a lot of money. I think they have a $70 million, $65 million cap hit the next 2 years. I think it's 45 and then 20 or 40 and then 25, whatever it is. They owe him a lot of money. And I don't how do you feel bad over that when you gave $180 million to a guy that is coming off of an Achilles injury? Like, that's for someone of his age too. Like, yes, he had a great season last year, and Kirk Cousins, is known to be elite and stuff like that. But that's a lot of money to give to someone that an older quarterback coming off of such a serious injury. If it was a younger player, sure, I can understand it more. But they put themselves in that situation, and then giving him that money, and then almost immediately drafting a quarterback that they reached on. No one thought he was going to go. They could have traded down if they wanted to. And from that point on, you talk about disconnect. Kirk Cousins, he's like, you just signed me and then you draft a quarterback. We already heard that there was confusion and, some, they were unsettled there in Atlanta. But I don't know, like, if it's worth hanging on to him, if you're going to pay him all that money to be on the bench, or just you cut him loose. And if they cut him loose, I mean, listen, I know, like, he's, on the older side, whatever, but there are some teams that can still probably benefit from having him. Like, the two teams that come to my mind are like the Raiders and Giants. Granted, they're going to have the top 2 picks in this year's draft. So they're going to go after Cam Ward and Sanders. I feel like that's the consensus here. Who says one of those teams also doesn't go after Kirk Cousins, who is cut, they don't have to give a lot of money to, that can be that veteran quarterback to those 2 young guys? Or just cap that. Let's say a team like Dallas, okay? Dak Prescott not working out. He's gone. Trade him, whatever. Bring in Kirk Cousins, and he can step in, whatever. Not the best quarterback in the world, but someone that has experience and can maybe provide more than, no offense, Cooper Rush. So that's how I kind of look at it. I don't think his career is over by any means. I think it's just we may have seen we may have seen Kirk Cousins' last game in an Atlanta Falcons jersey.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to say.
I'm kind of iffy about it because what we've seen out of Kirk this year hasn't really been great. Like, he looks like a statue. Like,
Sure.
There's no mobility in the pocket. He can't really step up to make certain deep throws that he has in the past. And earlier in the season, he swag surfing with the Atlanta fans, trying to, fit in like a native. So it looked good at first, but I'm a little concerned about him now. I think it kind of does feel a little bit like a Russell Wilson kind of situation, right, with the Broncos, to where they pay him this large deal and then, well, you know what? Sean Payton and Russ just ain't connecting. Mm-hmm. Cut him. The Steelers he's basically playing for free out in Pittsburgh. This is like a prove-it deal. So maybe somebody takes a chance on Kirk, but the only difference is Russell had a good year with Denver. They just lost a lot of one-score games. They fell short. But I think he threw for 20-plus touchdowns and like 8 picks or whatever it was. Like, Russ didn't have a bad season his last year with Denver. But Kirk, this 5-game stretch alone is
not good.
No, it's terrible. Good. So now I'm thinking, if he does get cut, and boy, would that be hilarious on the Falcons' part that they reached like this and just flopped. If he does get cut, I don't know who takes him, but I'm thinking this dude might be a backup unless he shows something in training camp. I don't know. I don't look at Kirk as a starting quarterback right now because, again, to make this switch in week 16,
that says a lot.
For a guy that hasn't taken a single snap in the regular season, that's crazy. Like, that really means, I think Michael Penix Jr. gives us the best shot to win. In week 16, when the Bucs are still ahead of you in the playoff hunt right now to win the NFC South, there's a lot at stake.
That's a vote of no confidence for Kirk Cousins right there.
Not at all.
So I'm going to throw a few teams out at you. I'm going to throw a few scenarios at you because I do think, looking at some of these teams, there could be a path. I'm not saying it's a high likely chance, but there are some paths here. So it's like you look at certain situations, and some of these are going to be a little outlandish, and like things need to happen for it, but bear with me. Teams like Miami and the Jets, they have 2 quarterbacks right now. Tua is 1 hit away from becoming a vegetable. No offense, but that guy is 1 hit away from ending up in the hospital. It's true. Yeah. The Jets, who knows what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to come back? I think that's most likely going to happen, but he might not. The Cleveland Browns, they don't know who they're starting anymore. They don't know what's going on. Deshaun Watson's going to be hurt next, or maybe to hurt to start the year. Tennessee Titans, they just made a quarterback switch. They went from Levis to Rudolph. The Raiders, who have a top pick this year, if they want a veteran quarterback. Same thing with the Giants. The Cowboys that I mentioned. Then you have like the Panthers, who I know Bryce Young is there and stuff, but vet quarterback maybe. The Saints, if things with Derek Carr don't, bleed into next year. I think there are enough teams that have enough going on where he can find a way there. If certain things happen. Things need to happen in order for that. But a lot of things. I'm with you. These last few games, like, not a good look, and I think there's a good chance that he might not be a starter week 1 next year. But under certain circumstances, I think that he can get a starting job back at some point with some team because of some certain situation. That's what I'm saying.
You laying out those teams for me kind of does help my vision a little bit of seeing, like, okay, like the Saints situation. Derek Carr hasn't played spectacular, so there could be room for a conversation there. Mm-hmm. Like, I think what I've seen on field from Kirk, has me very discouraged. Not even just about the 9 interceptions in the last games, but again, just from a pocket presence standpoint, to where he's not moving well around that area. And it's not like he was a scrambler or a mobile dual threat
Right.
QB by any stretch, but having that pocket presence and being able to step up or pick up plays on the blitz and still throw. Like Kirk used to get abused in Minnesota and still threw a pretty deep ball to
Yep.
Jay Jetters or whatever. So I'm a little concerned just about his actual play on the field. But hey, maybe somebody does take a chance. And again, if he does get cut, he'll be playing for free no matter where he goes. So,
like if we look at the state of some of the quarterbacks in the NFL, and like I think that he is better than some of the starters in the NFL today. Still, I do believe that. So,
like the Giants and Raiders are definitely the two, like, hey, come get me kind of situations if they don't draft a quarterback. And I pray to God that they do.
they have to. They have to. I can't imagine that they won't. But yeah, no, I'm with you.
Their next 3 games to finish out the season are the Giants, Commanders, and the Panthers in order to potentially win their division. If it works out in their favor, they just win out. We'll see how Penix does in these next few games. But the Bucs are still ahead of them in the division, so they need them to drop all the games, as many games as possible. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.